Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so did you know that falls from even relatively low heights are actually one of the top causes of major industrial accidents? It's pretty wild, but it's a stark reality. Today, we're diving into a topic that quite literally deals with life and limb, the safe operation of personal lifts. When we're working at height, we're in an environment where the margin for error is unbelievably small. I mean, a single moment of inattention can have catastrophic consequences. So we've put together a rigorous, systematic walkthrough of the source material to just completely remove any doubt. The ultimate goal here? You get up safely. And way more importantly, you come back down safely. Every single day. All right, let's dive right in. First off, we've got to set the stakes. A personal lift is absolutely not just a glorified stepladder. These are heavy, incredibly complex machines packed with potential hazards. We're talking about the risk of electrical shock, since these machines often aren't insulated. There's the danger of losing stability and tipping right over, and of course the severe risk of being crushed. Because that margin for error is so tiny, following a strict safety checklist isn't just a polite recommendation, it's an absolute lifeline. To keep everything structured today, we're going to walk through a 6-part modular checklist. We've got preparation and controls, securing the work area, fall protection rules, basket behavior, cranes and lotto, and finally, emergency procedures.
So let's kick things off with Section 1, Preparation and Controls. This is your absolute foundation.
Before you even think about setting foot in a lift, remember this. Only fully trained folks are allowed anywhere near those controls. You can't just know how to go up and down, right? You gotta know the physical limits of the machine. And frankly, you have to know exactly what to do when things go south and an emergency suddenly arises. And that brings us to the daily pre-flight routine. This is non-negotiable. First, check the ground. Is it level? Is it completely stable and free of holes? Second, verify the weight. You must never, ever exceed the machine's maximum load limit. But that final point, the ground contact, that's probably the most vital. You absolutely must confirm that a ground contact person is present. And not just any random person walking by, but someone specifically trained in the emergency lowering system for the exact lift you're using. Honestly, think of them as your ultimate lifeline.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, securing the work area, or as I like to call it, blocking the danger zone.
We really need to look at the physical environment below you. I want you to picture this. Imagine just dropping a standard adjustable wrench from 10 meters up. Suddenly, that everyday tool becomes a literal, deadly missile for anyone standing on the floor below. This brilliantly illustrates exactly why there's such a strict, uncompromising rule here. You've got to set up a minimum 2-meter barricade all the way around the lift. It's a hard, physical boundary to protect your colleagues from those falling missiles. And keep in mind, 2 meters is just the bare minimum.
Because there are some situational additions to that barricade rule that you really have to be aware of. Like, if you're going extraordinarily high, that barricade width absolutely has to increase. Working near doors or windows, they've got to be physically blocked off so nobody accidentally just wanders into the drop zone. And this is crucial. If you're in an area with forklift traffic, the space around you must be heavily shielded. Just imagine a forklift accidentally bumping the bottom of your lift while you're way up in the air. Yeah, no thanks. That is a disaster scenario we have to avoid at all costs. Which brings us to Section 3, Fall Protection Rules, or Navigating the Harness. Now, there's actually a lot of widespread confusion out there about exactly when you need to be strapped in. So we're going to clear that up once and for all. There's a really vital distinction between machine types to keep in mind. If you're in a boom lift or a spider lift, it is a 100% requirement to wear a harness. No exceptions. You've got to use a fixed harness, meaning a belt that cannot be adjusted, and it must be clicked directly into the designated anchor point. But scissor lifts, totally different story. When you're standing in a scissor lift, there's actually no requirement for fall protection. Remembering that specific distinction is wildly important for your day-to-day operations. But hold on, because there's a critical chain reaction here. If you're in a boom lift and you've got your harness securely strapped on, it automatically triggers a brand new rule. There has to be a mandatory rescue plan. Think about it for a second. If you fall out, yeah, sure, you're dangling safely in your harness. But what good is that if your ground crew has absolutely zero idea how to get you down within the critical time window? Hanging there for too long is extremely dangerous. Your colleagues on the ground must know exactly what they're doing. Okay, shifting gears to Section 4, Basket Behavior. This is all about safe operation once you're up high. So, the ground area is secured, you're strapped in correctly, and you've made it up into the air. How do you physically behave?
The source material fires off some absolutely non-negotiable rules here. First up, both feet must be solidly planted on the floor of the lift at all times. Look, we have all been there, right? You just need like 20 extra centimeters to reach your target, and stepping on the railing or maybe a material box looks incredibly tempting. Seriously, don't do it. It's quite literally a recipe for a fatal fall. The railing is not a stepladder. If you can't reach, you drive the lift into a better position instead. Also, if you need to drive the lift over a long distance, lower it fully first. And you must always stay inside the basket while driving. Finally, respect the weather. If there's thunder or high winds, you stop work immediately. Period. Another thing, when you're navigating up high, especially if you're tucking up under building parts, you've got to maintain extreme focus. Crushing hazards are a massive risk up there. You have to keep your eyes peeled and maintain total situational awareness so you don't inadvertently pin yourself against a beam or a ceiling. Let's move right into Section 5, Cranes and Lodo, Avoiding Aerial Collisions. Operating a lift in the same vicinity as overhead traveling cranes is hands down one of the absolute most dangerous industrial scenarios you'll ever face. To avoid a deadly midair collision with a crane, we use LOTO, which stands for Lockout Tagout. Now, pay attention to the word physical here. LOTO isn't just some theoretical paper rule you check off on a clipboard. It's an active, physical action you take to cut the crane's power or remove its remote control before you ever approach its airspace. Basically, you have two options. You either physically put a padlock on the crane's power supply, or you take the crane's remote right up into the basket with you. It's incredibly logical if you think about it. If the remote is in your basket, nobody on the floor can accidentally send that crane on a collision course with your head. But what happens when things get a little more complicated? Consider this edge case. You've got multiple lifts operating in the exact same warehouse hall. Here's the crucial point. If your coworkers are also driving around up there, just stealing the remote into your basket isn't going to cut it. The instructions have a completely uncompromising rule for this exact scenario. The power must be locked out, and every single worker must place their own personal padlock on the electrical panel. And you keep your key in your pocket. This ensures that it is physically impossible for the crane to move until the very last person has come down safely and removed their lock. Honestly, it's a brilliant, fail-safe system. Finally, let's look at Section 6, Emergency Procedures, what to do when technology fails. Because, let's be real, even when you do every single thing right, you follow all the rules, you lock out the power, technology can still fail. And when it does, you need to have ice in your stomach. The immediate actions are simple, but they're critical. If you notice a fault, if you see damage, or if you even doubt the safety for just 1 second, stop. Stop working immediately. A personal lift isn't a jammed vending machine. You don't just kick it and hope it starts working again. You lower the lift safely, step out, and immediately take it out of service. And this directly leads to a very strict protocol regarding power. If you experience a power outage, no matter how brief it is, you must come down immediately. There are absolutely no exceptions to this rule. You can't just keep driving once the power flickers back on. Maintenance has to be called to secure and reset the remote controls and crane connections before work can continue. Really, just leave that reset to the professionals. To tie this all together, the source material ends with a quote that just beautifully summarizes the deliberate choices an operator has to make. It says, "Plan work, barricade correctly, use the right equipment, work safely." I know it sounds simple, but it perfectly encapsulates the entire professional mindset required. Operating a personal lift isn't something you just do casually. Your safety and your colleagues' safety depends entirely on your disciplined choices every single day. So I want to leave you with this somewhat provocative thought from the source guidelines. Next time you step into that basket and clip in your harness, I want you to ask yourself, am I taking this seriously enough today? I really hope the answer is yes. Take care of yourselves out there, and thanks so much for joining this explainer. Work safely.